Welcome to our weekly discussion of all things current in California politics. I'm Walt Gray, joined this week again, as always, by reporter Emily Hoeven, political columnist with the San Francisco Chronicle. Emily, nice to have you back here on the weekend. There's a bill in California backed by Democrats that would ask a judge to determine a person's race, a criminal's race, in sentencing. Why is that?
Yeah, so there's a bill that's being authored by the leader of the Assembly Public Safety Committee, Assemblymember Reggie Jones-Sawyer, and he has put forth a bill that would essentially, whenever judges have discretion to determine sentencing, sometimes they don't, sometimes they have to do, whatever the law says, but other times they have discretion to decide the length and severity of the sentencing. And he says that whenever that is the option, the judge should consider the race of the defendant and take into account the fact that there has been, disproportionate incarceration of people of color, specifically black people, and then use that to determine the sentencing. What exactly that means is unclear, but I think there are some folks that think that, he's basically asking judges to maybe lower sentences based on a person's race, potentially.
Okay, well, we'll see how that plays out. Another thing that the Chronicle is working on, San Francisco Chronicle, is a story about where drug dealers are coming from in San Francisco. What did you find?
Yeah, so I'm really proud of the Chronicle. We just published an 18th month investigation that essentially was trying to understand where the supply of fentanyl and drugs is coming from in San Francisco, which, as you know, is just plaguing the city and is a subject of national debate. And after this investigation, we found that a sizable amount of the drug trade in terms of the street dealers can be traced back to a specific part of Honduras. There are a lot of people there who, fleeing poverty and oppression and violence in their communities are coming to San Francisco and, making money there and then sending it back. And there was actually some stunning photography that showed that in this small little village in the Syria Valley, it's called, there are all these homes just covered in San Francisco logos, murals. There's even Civic Center emblazoned on some of these homes because the drug trade is actually funding a construction boom in that region.
Wow. How sad is that? And also, you're specifically doing a story in the Chronicle about K through 12 curriculum specific to math. What did you find in the state?
Yeah, so the State Board of Education for years has been debating this new proposal to overhaul California's math curriculum, and they are also really trying to address, again, racial disparities in math education and, how far kids are going in math, whether it's calculus or algebra 2 or, things like that, geometry. And so essentially there's this new proposal that would basically allow kids to also take something called data science instead of algebra 2, and it would also incentivize schools to basically block kids from taking algebra 1 until 9th grade. And this all sounds kind of complicated, but the whole point is that critics are arguing that it would make it harder for kids to take calculus as a senior, and therefore it would make it harder for them to get into competitive colleges and get the jobs in Silicon Valley and the high-paying jobs that lead to social and economic mobility. And so I have a column kind of talking about my own experience in calculus and why I think it's important that kids should always try to be able to reach the highest level of math possible, and schools should incentivize that rather than kind of holding them back to a certain point.
Well, calculus and me did not get along, so I'm sure your story's a lot better than mine. Okay, Emily, great to see you. Thank you. If you'd like to reach out to Emily Hoeven, you can do so via electronic mail at emily.hoeven@sfchronicle.com.